Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. Hopefully, you woke up to a grand and beautiful day like I did, but it's getting a little cloudy. Got some rain coming, but we need to keep the grass green, all right? Don't want it turning brown under our feet. It's kind of awful walking barefoot through brown grass. Don't want that. But, hey, what do we have going for this coming Sunday as far as our Old Testament lesson? Well, we are given a choice to read something that Lutherans especially and a lot of other Protestants don't ever look at, and that is a book of the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, it's a group of about 15 books, depending on how you number it, 14 or 15, and they were written in a time frame when the Hellenistic influence was all over that Mediterranean area. The Greeks were in control, and the scriptures themselves, the Hebrew scriptures, had been translated from the Hebrew into the Greek because everybody was talking and reading Greek, okay? So that's the background. And you have things that were written after those Hebrew scriptures were finished being written that occurred from the 3rd and 2nd centuries BCE, okay? Onward. What we're reading from, what's called the Wisdom of Solomon, is something that was written quite late, probably close to the time of Jesus, if not into his time. And it's written in the format of, it's King Solomon who's doing all the talk. And we know King Solomon, he's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years past by this time. But it's kind of him talking and pouring out some of his wisdom. In fact, probably a lot of this is his wisdom and his writings that have been passed down through the generations, but are put in the context of King Solomon saying it, but written definitely by someone who's very, very adept in the Greek culture and the language. So that's why it's important for us to look at these things. Then we can understand not only some of these writings from the Apocrypha, we can better understand some of the writings of the New Testament and what the early Christians had to battle as far as thoughts about immortality and everlasting life and sin and death and all those types of things. Let me just read what is given to us this week as a choice that we could read for our Old Testament lesson. From the first chapter, right here. God did not make death, and he does not delight in the death of the living. For he created all things that they might exist, and the generative forces of the world are wholesome, and there's no destructive poison in them. And the dominion of Hades is not on earth. But righteousness is immortal. And then going to the very last 2 verses of chapter 2. For God created man for incorruption, and made him in the image of his own eternity. But through the devil's envy, death entered the world, and those who belong to his party experience it. In other words, see, the Greek thought at that time was our souls are immortal. They're just kind of out there, and they've always been and always will be. According to this is more of a Christian viewpoint, if you will, but also a more Jewish influenced viewpoint, is that our immortality comes as a gift from God. It's not just we have it one way or the other. No, it's a gift from God for those who follow him in righteousness. So I think that's a pretty important thing to realize when you're reading some of these later writings that are part of the Apocrypha. And the Roman Catholic Church accepts it as part of the scriptures. The Hebrew canon now accepts it as part of their scriptures. Originally it wasn't that. And as Protestants, for the most part, we say, yeah, it's pretty good stuff to read. It's a little wild, a little goofy and crazy at times, but once you get through all that stuff, you come to realize, oh, this is what it's trying to say to us. And always, as I say, when you look at the scriptures, look for the quality of relationship. The relationship between us and God and us and each other. That is what is of essence in all of this. How do we fit into this world? And how do we, as God's people, live out our lives in righteousness, in a right relationship with Him, and in a right relationship with everybody around us? And boy, do we ever need that now? More than ever? Well, just as much as always, I would say. All right, well, interesting reading, and go ahead and read the whole thing of the Wisdom of Solomon. It covers a lot of Israel's history and how the wisdom of God, which is spoken very highly of in this book, but also you'll see bits and pieces of it through the rest of the Old Testament passages that we often look at. That wisdom is very important because it is of God, and it is something that helps guide us through some rather treacherous waters. Today, looking at the whole concept of death and eternal life. God's blessings be with you on this warm and sunny day.